Muldrotha the Gravetide versus Grimgrin Corpseborn. Exploration is going to be really good here. We're going to be able to ramp on our opponent on turn 1. Unfortunately, this is going to be a hand that we will empty pretty quickly. Muldrotha the Gravetide is a 6-mana Sultai commander, a 6/6. During each of your turns, you may play one permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. And got back round to our turn pretty quickly. We'll just get down this Crucible of Worlds. And we're up to 4 mana on turn 2, but we only have 2 cards in hand. A land next turn would be good for the Underrealm Lich. We can start to try to filter some of our draws. Grimgrin Corpseborn is a 5-mana Dimir commander. A 5/5, it enters tapped and doesn't untap during the untap step. You can sacrifice a creature to untap it and put a +1/+1 counter on it. And when it attacks, destroy a target creature defending player controls, then put a +1/+1 counter on Grimgrin. Shriekmaw is going to do nothing this game, I imagine. And we're going to do nothing this turn, so we're giving our opponent the chance to catch up. We can Cyclonic Rift for 2, but I doubt that's going to be any good for us. A Blood Scrivener coming down for our opponent. And then back round to our turn, hoping for a land there, but we didn't get it. When it leaves the battlefield, target non-land permanent goes on top of its owner's library. Don't think I really care about that just yet. But it can be a blocker for Grimgrin if he gets in before we get another land drop, so we'll just hard cast that. And then if our opponent blows it up, we can put something on top of their library, or we can get counter magic out of their hand. No, that's Forbidden Alchemy. I was going to say they didn't seem to think about what they were countering there. Some players will just tap blue mana instantly as soon as they see their opponent doing something, and it's not necessarily very wise to do that because you're not actually looking at what you're countering. You don't necessarily want to counter everything your opponent does. But our opponent was not countering. They went for Forbidden Alchemy, which is look at the top 4 cards of your library. One goes into your hand and the rest go into the graveyard. So in the graveyard now is a Sunken Ruins, a Grave Titan, which is no doubt a reanimation target, and a Rite of Replication. 4 cards in our opponent's hand. Down comes Returned Reveler. And we get into that land, but it is a tap land, so we're being punished there. Slow rolling these out. We'll just leave back the Nevermaker, and they can swing in for 1 with the Returned Reveler if they want to. We don't particularly care about that thing dying, because that'll be some self-mill for us. We'll just chump here, neither creatures will die. Alright, Dark Ritual. Might be seeing our opponent's commander here. No, they're up to 6 mana, 7 mana. And they get Abhorrent Overlord. That is a 6/6 flyer. So they get 4 Harpy tokens. But at the beginning of their upkeep, they have to sacrifice a creature. Let's go for the Soul Ring, and that will put us on Cyclonic Rift mana, I think. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, next turn we'll be on Rift mana. As for right now, let's go for Underrealm Lich. And I imagine they will sack the Returned Reveler here. Yep, and that's some mill for both of us. We each mill 3 cards. We get into Command Beacon, Dimir Signet and Conjurer's Bauble, which isn't terrible to have in the graveyard. Our opponent gets into Ghost Quarter, Havengul Lich, and Body Double. Now, do we want the... I think I will just block the Abhorrent Overlord here, and then we can put it back on top of our owner's, on top of its owner's library. They'll be able to recast it next turn, but the devotion isn't as high now. And we do have Cyclonic Rift mana up, so if they tap out for that next turn, we can just rift them if we want to. We only have 1 card left in hand. Hopefully it's not a reanimation spell. Oh, and eventually our opponent decides to come back to us. I think I must have been sat here a couple of minutes waiting for our opponent to decide what they were doing. And they go for Grimgrin. They can untap that thanks to these harpy tokens. Sacrifice one of those to untap it and put a counter on it. Now then, we put one into our hand and the rest into the graveyard. I think we have to go for Demonic Tutor here. So we'll put Demonic Tutor into our hand. Then we can go for... we'll grab our Muldrotha. And we can certainly play Muldrotha. And we can play the Noxious Gearhulk from the graveyard thanks to Muldrotha. Let's go for Sunken Hollow. 2 basic lands we don't have, so we'll go for Command Beacon. And do we want to... I don't know what I want to tutor for yet, so we'll just go for Demir's Signet here, I think. And I forgot all about... My mind started wandering because I was waiting for my opponent to play for so long. I forgot that we can play an extra land. That's thanks to the exploration. So I think we just leave it at that. Do we want to swing in? Yeah, I'm not going to block the Grimgrin. So we'll go in with Underrealm Lich. 1 card in our opponent's hand, and we know that they are getting into that Abhorrent Overlord next turn. They decide to untap Grimgrin. And Grimgrin will swing in and most likely destroy Muldrotha. Yeah, I think actually now we just hold up mana for Cyclonic Rift and try and set our opponent back a little bit. Or we could wipe the board. Okay, how about we grab ourselves a Skull Clamp, play and equip the Skull Clamp. We'll play that Wasteland from the graveyard thanks to Crucible of Worlds. Let's go for Demonic Tutor and aim a board wipe at our opponent. It's a Damnation for us. Let's go Damnation. We'll draw some cards here. No point swinging in at our opponent because they'll just chump with the demon that they had. We can get another land into play thanks to Exploration. Oracle of Muldiah. Yeah, I think I'd rather hold up Wasteland and Command Beacon. A Ghoul Raiser for our opponent. And that is return a zombie at random from your graveyard to your hand. And they get themselves a Returned Reveler. So that is the self-mill card. Out comes the Returned Reveler. I think we will... Yeah, just in case they have the combo, I'm going to blow up the Thespian Stage here. The good thing about Command Beacon is that you can consistently sacrifice it to get Muldrotha back from the command zone. And that effectively makes her 6 mana all the time, because you can replay Command Beacon from the graveyard when Muldrotha's in play. So you can sack it multiple times quite easily in this deck. I'd also like to acknowledge that we can go for the Wasteland combo, just replaying Wasteland over and over again from the graveyard. We can do that twice a turn and kill our opponent's cards multiple times, but I don't really see the fun in that, which is exactly the reason I'm not going for it. Alright, another fetch for us. We will sacrifice the Command Beacon to return Muldrotha from the command zone to our hand. We'll cast Muldrotha, replay the Command Beacon, and we'll replay the Wasteland as well. Then how about we go for Noxious Gearhulk, and that will allow us to kill this thing. We'll get some mill going. Our opponent already has some good reanimation targets, so Not too worried about them milling even more. I'd just rather start getting some damage onto our opponent's life total. We got into Rex Sage, Sakura Tribelder, and Pernicious Deed. So I feel pretty good about having those. That was a good mill for us. Our opponent got into Fact or Fiction. No use to them unless they have a Snapcaster or something like that. Sidisi Undead Vizier is a good reanimation target. And a Demir Signet won't be of much use to them. They're just going to Flashback Forbidden Alchemy. So they're obviously fishing for a living death or something like that. Yeah, and our opponent clearly didn't get into anything there. Don't think they should have quit because we didn't actually... I mean, they had another couple of draw steps most likely. We don't really have a whole heap going on here. We didn't really feel the need to use our Cyclonic Rift. But we could have dealt with pretty much anything they played anyway, thanks to Pernicious Deed. We had Reclamation Sage as well. And we could have done something with Nevermaker as well, so I think we had the game sealed up there, but I think our opponent did scoop a little preemptively there, but there we are, that's the way it goes sometimes. Muldrotha, the Gravetide, versus Grimgrin, Corpseborn. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.